Anupria and welcome to Hindustan Times. Wish you a very, very happy new year.
Thank you and wish you a very, very, very happy new year too. So glad to be here.
So, Anupria, it's been a tough 2020 for a lot of people, and we are all hoping that 2021 turns out to be great. So, you tell me, how has the year started for you?
Well, started with good news because criminal justice did so well. And what's been most satisfying is that people have taken away the core context of the show home. We've been
Yes.
bombarded with messages from a lot of people, even men, especially men, who have sent us messages saying that they understand what patriarchy is and they've taken notice of it, or it's something to really be careful of or think about. And at least that whole space of having a dialogue started with it about marital rape, about abuse or domestic abuse to be precise. So so it started on a great note in that way. It's very gratifying, and especially to be part of something which is relevant enough to bring some amount of change or to start a discussion in that regard towards the betterment is very satisfying. So yeah. And then I was also part of this film called Sir in a very, very small way.
Yes, yes, I saw it.
With Tilotama in it, and I actually just did it at that time because I have always been a Tilotama fan, and I met Rohina, the director, and I really liked her. So it seemed like a story again which needed to be told, and I just kind of became a part of it. Like I think some 4 years or 5 years ago, and it's today seeing the light of day, and it's a beautiful film. So that also, and again, it says so many things which are very potent and very unassuming manner. Then I was part of this another film called Lord of the Orphans. Probably haven't heard of it. It's made by Ranjan Palit, who's a very dear friend and a DOP who has shot me for the Mintra ad that I had done.
Yes,
You
long
know,
time back. Yeah.
so I think again about 4 5 years ago, 4 years ago maybe, Ranjan just called me one day that he's making an autobiography, a video biography, whatever it is called in specific terms, and you know, and then he wanted me to play a very small part of for 2 3 days in it, and I just said yes for the love of film, and I just saw it day before yesterday. It's a cult film. It's very different. It's extremely like a very indie rendition of one's own life, and he's made it very fearlessly, and it's one of the most real kind of cinema that I've seen so far. And it just felt great. Like we were stunned after watching the movie. We were just sitting there for about an hour, all of us, breathing it in, soaking it in. And yeah, so that way this year has started on a note which has been very gratifying in that regard.
It's so endearing to even, hear you talk with so much pride and happiness about the work that you have done. And that is really, really commendable.
Projects were quite a surprise, to be very honest. And then it feels nice that though I'm playing very small parts in it, it feels nice that I did it for the love of the art or for the love of the people in it. And they are beautiful projects to be just made.
Yeah.
And it feels nice to collaborating together in such things so that you helping these projects become a reality. Now everybody does their small, small bits. Most
Yeah.
of the people have for lesser fees, for free of cost, and they've been beautifully done. Like the Lotma and Vivek and many other people in Sir, people behind the scenes have put in so much heart and soul in it. Rohina has said such important things in the movie. So yeah, and criminal justice, of course. Just today we were having a panel discussion. Few days ago, we had another whole day of panel discussion where we were discussing abuse. All of us, 6 7 women, uh, or maybe a little less than that, but it was a very satisfying day because it just felt like okay, we have started a discussion, and to hear everyone speak about their personal experiences and everything. So yeah, it's nice. And after you've finished, and then the things kind of take shape in front of you and have an effect of the kind of effect you love to see cinema have on people. So yeah, that's a very beautiful feeling. I'm happy. I'm blessed to be feeling that way right now.
That's a lot of validation also, Anupriya. I mean, before I come to the kind of work that one has seen you do in films and, of course, the web platforms, I want to start by asking you that I mean, everyone knows that you do not come from a film background. Like,
Hmm.
you were working in some call centers, you were helping your father in his export business as well. So I was reading in
Hmm.
one of the interviews you had given to Hindustan Times, in fact, where you had said that the circles that you sit in do not really look up to the showbiz as a great profession, and there would be people, maybe extended family, who'll scare you by saying it's a dirty world. So having
Hmm.
spent some good 7 years here now in showbiz, have you managed to change that perception? Is there a shift in their thought process?
I sure hope so. I really hope so. So, see, the circle, when I said that, I actually meant not just my immediate family
Okay.
or my immediate extended family.
Hmm.
I meant like when I was starting off, or much before I started off, because I come from a Maru setup, we none of us know anything about the Indian entertainment industry as such, and an industry, it's
Right.
a it's a different world, a world you see on the big screen, a world you see on television, and you somewhere assume these people to be different than you, because and that happens, you know like. And so I remember long time ago, before when I had started to work, when I was still in business or after it, if ever there was the slightest of thought in my head somewhere of joining the entertainment sector, maybe it was immediately squashed by either people saying, "Oh, it's a dirty space. A lot
Hmm.
of dirt happens in business," or even just in random conversations, people would say that it's so difficult because you're exploited left, right, and center, and it's just a dirty space. That would be the tagline that you kept hearing year after year. So you that just gets settled in, and you're scared that what if you find yourself in a difficult spot? What if you invite it yourself? Like, I never assumed that someone can push you to do, like, force you to do something like something that you're not ready to. But it was a scary thought that what if I'm just stuck in a situation and I
Right.
don't know how to get out of it. And as a woman, because I've seen life, that you get unwanted attention. You're used to saving yourself from situations. So that just becomes an even daunting thought that here you're walking right into it. you
Right.
know so that. But yes, I believe my extended family is very proud as much as I am.
Great.
They've always been very supportive from the standpoint of uh, letting me do what I do in terms of my father's business when I was handling that, or when I was working single-handedly towards supporting the family, working in call centers at night, or when I made a move to Bombay without any kind of a plan or any backing. I started working here in call centers first, and then in corporate spaces. I always made my own decisions. I shifted my family here without really
Yeah.
asking anyone else. So, and they've always been supportive in that sense. They've never really said, "Oh, what are you doing?" Yes, I do remember when I had started to act, because I was the responsible one when I was 16 or something, when I started taking everything on in my hands. And I started acting very late, like by 25, 26 is when I really started acting, to be
Yeah.
honest. Uh, I remember people telling me, कि तुम अपना बचपना अब जी रही हो. You know, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
People start when they're 19, people start when they're 20. Here you're going against the tide. You don't have any connections, you don't know anything. And I've never been a networking person. So even once in a while, when you talk to anybody, any one of your relatives, they would always say, "You know what you're doing, you know what you're doing." It's not the point of it being a dirty business, but also saying that you don't have a chance.
Hmm.
So that used to happen. But thankfully, I still come from a place where they all do it out of love and not just to deride you. And they are still very open-minded, you know, people around me. Um, but what I've realized is it's always a lot about how you are as a person, how you carry yourself, with the kind of conviction and responsibility.
Hmm.
Like, I have never let my responsibility on to someone. Like, there was never a chance that if I always knew, and I was aware of the fact that I have to support my family. So if I was doing this line of acting,
Yeah.
there wasn't an option for me to turn around to my relatives and say, oh, now I don't know how to take care of myself and my family both. So can you, like, that was never a thought.
Right, right.
And it was always my responsibility. And thankfully, because I had worked, I knew that if push comes to shove, I can always go back to doing the job. That was always the first priority. So I think that also lends you a certain amount of conviction and confidence, knowing that this is not the be all and end all. Your priorities have to be sound. And this is my passion, and I'm doing it out of love.
So, Anupriya, hoping that those people's mindset have already now shifted. Talking about your career, I mean, 7 years in the industry, but if I look at your filmography, I will come to the web content later. 6 films primarily. Was it also like
Yes.
a plan? Yeah, was it also a little plan that I'm not going to rush into things? You've been taking it slow, steady, and the pace is like, taking your own sweet time signing projects.
No, I think it was a mixture of what I got
Mm-hmm.
to what I took, and carried forward with. So it wasn't much of a plan. I'm not a planner.
Okay.
I am float. I really sometimes don't even have an idea as to what I'm going to do the next year or next to next year. In fact, now for the last 2 years, I try keeping my mind on. In fact, during the lockdown too, I kept reassessing. Okay, where is it that I really want to go? So you
Hmm.
aware of keep that in your mind. Otherwise, I tend to just float because it was never a plan. But yeah, I've always gone as per my instincts about the projects that I got and what I really liked amongst them. If there was the role interested me or the concept interested me or there were the people who I really wanted to work with.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think I've always known that this is something that I'm doing for my personal, satisfaction, and it has to excite me, and I have to learn something. And there needs to be something that I'm learning from each of these projects or exploring a new facet of myself. If it is the same thing that I'm doing over and over again, then there's no point to it.
Right.
So I try as much as possible to keep pushing myself and pushing the boundary.
If I were to mention, of course, the biggest projects that you've been part of, be it a Tiger Zinda Hai or War or Padmavat, we've seen that, there has been a clear, evident, and a successful transition from smaller parts in big banner films to such meatier parts on the web platforms. Was it also required? I mean, it just fell in place for you. It was not a plan of action, but it gradually happened. So was this transition needed?
Uh, Smaller parts in films to bigger parts in web platform.
Yeah.
So, of course, I think the transition that I need right now most is to now run a project on my shoulders, you know, like to be on center stage roles where the entire project is probably on my shoulders or I'm, I'm leading it somewhere. That's the transition that I would honestly want for myself at this point in time. And I think I'm pretty prepared for it also. My web films, sorry, my space as well as my films, I think my roles have pretty much been the same in both the spaces. I have honestly never felt that my roles in the last three films, as in fact, be it Tigers in the Hair or War, Padmavat, yes, to be honest, because Padmavat had its own journey.
Right.
There are a lot happened in that movie. Certain scenes we weren't able to shoot. When we were shooting, Sanjay sir fell ill, Deepika fell ill during the same sketch. I was away for Tigers in the Hair for 2 months. A lot of things had to be shifted around, sets had to be changed. So much happened that I'm just happy that I was part of it. And that remains one of my bestest memories of entire acting life so far, to be able to work with Sanjay sir for that 1 year.
I'm
I
sure.
learned so much from that man. It's really it's like a pride thing that I consider, and I think that I was very lucky to have that opportunity at that point in time because I learned so much. Um, so in Tigers in the Hair, I'm very thankful to Ali and to Yashraj to give me that part of Pune, which was so integral to the plot, and it had its importance. It was driving the story forward. It was representing the women in the movie, sorry, the nurses in the movie. And even though it was a Salman Khan movie and a Katrina Kaif movie, and then so many other profound actors, War, again, I'm very thankful to Yash Raj and Sid, because though Hrithik Roshan and Tiger Shroff are supposed to be the cream of the movie and the core, both of it, and they're such a romance, and their chemistry is beautiful, but they gave me a space to shine and to extend and explore my character. So yeah, I mean, I've never honestly not felt that these three movies have been any lesser than what I've done in the web. In the web, of course, what happens is, to be honest, it is easier to get meteor parts.
Okay.
Okay, because they are looking for actors. There's so much content being made now, and content of different kinds. Uh, it's thankfully most of the times, at least the projects that I've been part of, have been mounted as well as films have been mounted. They are run by people who have film sensibilities. I've got to work with some brilliant directors like Nishikant Kamath sir, Neeraj Kewan, Vikramnitya Motwani, Tigmanshu Dhulia, Prakash Jha, Honi Singh. So I got opportunity to work with these directors, Rohan Sippy and Arjun right now, and Vishal in the future in Criminal Justice, through web.
Right.
And all these actors that I got to jive with Pankaj sir in Criminal Justice, and many, many more, Feb and Sacred. And so I'm very thankful to the space it's given us. And because of the format it is of 10 hours, this will be 2.5 hours. And obviously, because the content is very explorative, you need actors who are able to, uh, you know, take responsibility of those roles
Hmm.
and perform. So, yeah, web that way is far more talent hungry in that sense. It's not just based on stardom yet, hopefully. There's more for actors to really come together and collaborate, and writers and directors and people who have similar sensibilities to just come and create. I
Hmm.
hope that remains. And but yeah, uh, uh, I have had the fortune of working with stars and learning a lot from them as well. So yeah, I never felt that at least in the last 3 years, I've always had a feeling that my film and my web space have always been kind of complementary one another. But now I definitely do want to do more center stage roles. That's what, if you ask me for a transition, that's the kind of transition that I think I'm looking for now. And at the same point in time, ensemble spaces as well, because I truly believe that a project is supposed to be built by characters. Uh, where that's like life, right? I don't believe in that male-oriented, female-oriented movie, or just the protagonist and everybody else is just playing a character around the protagonist.
Right.
It's even interesting when you have an ensemble cast leading and telling a story, and every character arc is very beautifully defined with a purpose.
Hmm.
So that I hope happens now, like more led
Absolutely.
writing, and it is. I mean, there is so that is happening more into web space,
Yeah.
but films are also catching up. You understand? Like the content in the film space has also become very meaningful in the recent past, more often than not.
Hmm.
And everywhere, talent, I think this is one of the best times for the Indian cinema. That talent has become extremely critical for content creation.
No, absolutely. If one were to look at just the kind of variety that you've portrayed on OTT space also, be it the Sacred Games or the Final Call, Asur, and Criminal Justice too, and what am I missing?
Ashram.
Right, Ashram. So is there any fear, like, because a lot of actors these days have been saying कि अरे मुझे तो OTT का superstar बोलते हैं, मुझे तो OTT का, the biggest star and all. That slotting fear is also there in your head at all.
No, yeah. इतना कभी नहीं सोचा मैंने.
That's nice.
It's a clean slate. So there's no point of being scared of what will become. I'm more scared of what I will feel and if I will get stuck. in the way I'm performing, if I get stuck in that, if the characters that I'm playing, if there is somewhere that I'm getting stuck in those things, because obviously what happens, the problem in the industry is, and maybe it's not so much of anyone's fault, it's just the way it is, and everyone has to make an individual effort in changing it.
Right.
If you're good in a certain role and your personality seems to be a certain kind, people generally tend to slot you in those roles. So I mostly do serious roles.
Okay.
So now I'm really itching to do, comic roles, or, like I love rural characters. Thankfully, I played a rural girl in a movie that I recently did in Jan last year. And it's supposed to be out somewhere this year, with Devendra Sharma opposite him. So hopefully that shall come out. But I want to do more of those rural characters. I'm very fond of period dramas. I want to do more of those. So I
Yeah.
got a chance to watch one of the
Padmavat,
greatest
yeah.
creators in Indian cinema in period space. Also, just do the rom-coms as well. Like as an actor, I want to expand my,
And explore.
yeah, and also change the way I interpret characters. I interpret, my emotional arc. Also change the way, I mean, or keep transforming, or uh, try different methods to arrive at similar uh, sort of emotions also, and keep adding. Like last time I was doing this series recently, wherein in this, after the lockdown, where for the first time I really tried to talk about, okay, let me wear this, let me put this kind of a hairstyle, let me put this body language. I was doing though that kind of ideation. Of
Okay.
course, once you've done a certain amount of work, I think people also listen, and you also get some confidence to give these kind of
Just.
ideas.
Yeah.
And but also now I, as I keep working, I just want to keep changing things in myself as well, in my performance, and that's what excites me, or that is what the trouble in my head is, that will I get stuck in that space, like of doing or approaching the thing in a similar way, not about how people are going to typecast me or not. उतना सोचने से कोई फायदा नहीं है.
Absolutely. So, Anupria, as you rightly mentioned, that the content on web is getting more meaningful. There are meatier characters, especially for women, also written in a different manner. There is no restraint in the way a director wants to tell his story, and there are a lot of suggestions coming in from actors also. So that way, we have a bigger platform to explore and narrate a story. At this point in time, when talks of censorship come in, do you think it
Hmm.
can turn around the game and really kind of ruin the democracy on web that we are enjoying?
The freedom. That is a worry, to be honest. I really pray and hope that never happens. See, I'm not against censorship. Like the way censorship is followed in films or applied in films, a certain part of it is required for sure. Maybe in the web space as well. It's the idea behind censorship that I'm more concerned about. If people are doing it with the idea of letting freedom of speech remain, of letting progressive ideas come in, or letting people explore what they want to say,
Hmm.
but keeping a tab on who's viewing the content, perhaps, you know like you can probably put those parental guidance slots or age slots, and then kind of monitor the content being supplied.
Hmm.
But to say that certain kind of language cannot be used, or uh, certain kinds of scenes cannot be used, or they have to be inclined, or in tune with a certain idea
Hmm.
of the society, that worries me. So it's not so much about the censorship, but also about the people who are with the mindset that they're approaching censorship. And I'm hoping that whosoever sit in whatever kind of an association that they make,
Hmm.
the people who are kind of going to helm it are going to be very experienced, and are going to be extremely capable of making those decisions.
Main concern here, when we are watching maybe series like Sacred Games or say Mirzapur, you know that the strata of society that they are showing in the films, they require certain words, cuss words, and swearing to be used in. But when you see like a normal family film, but just because it's made for the web, people try, okay, chalo isme kuch dal dete hain, shayad chal jayega. Do you think we are kind of depriving our family audience also from watching that film? Because sometimes it just becomes uncomfortable to hear those kind of words on a web film, which probably you would not see in a theater. Does censorship really work there?
Freedom of speech is when the director and the creators, they decide as to who
Yeah.
A, the target audience is, and B, what is it that they're trying to say. If
Hmm.
they're trying to make relevant change, if they're trying to make it more free. What if today what they're trying to say is that, okay, the kids do curse all over the place, and parents know it. The parents also curse all the time in some societies. They just don't do it in front of each other.
Hmm. Hmm.
And probably because of that, they all are cursing in their respective zone, and nobody's telling each other to not abuse. you know,
Yeah.
how do we know that? I mean, so the point is that हर चीज subjective है ना यहाँ,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you just need a decent amount of dialogue or space for dialogue, a decent amount of reasoning to be allowed. It cannot creative things when you're collaborating, when you're making decisions for each other. You need to hear each other out and understand perspectives. That's what's required. A certain, as I said, the mindset is it's not about drawing lines. It's about kind of blurring those lines.
You did mention that you want to break away from that image of intense, serious, or very kind of not dark, I would say, but yeah, a little demanding roles or thoda.
Want to do dark roles. I really want to do dark roles. I
Yeah.
want to do crazy big roles. I also want to play someone who is docile and probably doesn't have a voice, and like of a battered woman, because I'm an actor. I want to play it all. So yeah, sometimes I feel that I'm only given roles which are very like Sanjeeda and professional and serious, and where you are, which which have a lot of emotions like
Huh.
in place. Asur, it was a very traumatic role because
Hmm.
your husband is in captivity, you don't know what's happening, but you're a techie and you have to pull up your socks and to be there. So they always have mostly have that dichotomy
Hmm.
where you are vulnerable, scared, in a human setup like in Final Call. Uh, her life is in danger, so is the life of so many people around her. But she has to again take up charge and be there. And she has many moments where she breaks down, but she then again picks herself up and is also the nurturer and taking care of everyone else. Similarly, in Tiger Zinda Hai, so
Yeah.
there was like Lothra of emotions at different times. Padmavat I played Rani, and there I was actually playing a negative character, which I was really happy
Yeah.
about.
But not like really dark, dark shades, you would say, yeah.
No, like really dark, where very scared, like which, like even Padmavat. To be honest, I don't know jealousy as a human being.
Huh.
I'm not. I know how to be angry and upset and all of those things very well. But jealousy as an emotion, I'm not very attuned to. So that was difficult for me to play. Like really a negative character, because when you're not really in
Right.
place within a situation that much as a human being, it's something that you struggle because it's
I
not
would
in your
say it's
core.
tough to connect, but at the same time, it brings out the most out of you as an actor also. That you have to put in that much of hard work.
True. And like I did Abhay for that, because this
Yes.
girl had three shades. She was a seductress, then she was crazy in her head. She would be somebody who would slip a knife into someone's throat and sit on a dead body. And
I know.
so that excited me, and I was playing only these goody characters. So I wanted to like take a breather. Thankfully, War I played someone sporty and an edgy and an agent
Yeah.
who's very like body language is agent like and sporty. So yeah, I mean, and there are different reasons for doing different projects all the time. So, but yeah, I want to play these crazy, nice, docile, all sorts of characters.
So when
Comedy, I've never tried comedy. I really want to try my hand at that.
so when we say different, I want to do different projects. But when we look at the way Bollywood filmmakers cast their heroines or second leads or supporting actors or whatever, do you think there needs to be a little rethinking in that process also? Because somewhere or the other, we keep boxing actors, but we don't think that it's actually the casting agents probably who've, boxed them in their head that I don't think she can do comedy because she's been doing serious roles. But it's only after you're given the chance that you can show it on screen.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I believe, because that's how it's interesting, and it would be challenging both for the creators and for the actors, and interesting for the audiences also, right?
Hmm.
When they see someone they haven't expected to see in a certain way do something completely opposite to that, that itself is going to bring about a new flavor uh, to the viewing experience, and also add so much flavor of its own. I think the only point of someone creating, um, let's say, an array of work is when you challenge that and you give the audiences something that they don't expect from the same person.
Hmm.
So, so yeah, I hope that they rethink it. But it really again it depends upon the maker, yeah, upon the director as to how they function.
Yeah.
Some directors like to cast closer to the character because they believe that does maximum amount of justice. Some directors push you to do different things completely all the time, and they challenge you. And also, it again depends upon what are you seeking. I think what you seek as an actor also starts coming to you over a period of time. It may take time, but you have to pursue it seriously. So that answers the question that you said that, have you been slow? I've not been taking my own sweet time, but I just don't want to be very repetitive, and I don't want to do things for the heck of it. I take up projects when they move me, or when I feel that this is the director I want to learn from, or these are the actors I really want to work with. And
Right.
there's a role that I see at least I have to think something about. It challenges me enough to want to go to the set and try something that way.
So I'm sure you would have had your own journey, own ups and downs, hits and misses in this career. And of course, when we talk about the great films and great people that you worked with, there would have been certain biases probably that you would have come across. I'm not getting into the insider outsider debate at all here, but um, has there been rejections due to some reasons that you probably did not connect with and you felt what kind of reason is this for me not doing this film? Like, would you want to share a little nugget like that maybe?
Um, there have been many rejections, yeah. So right now, nothing is really popping up straight on my mind, to be
Okay,
very
not
honest.
rejections, any biases that you have seen yourself firsthand in the film industry.
So, so nothing that I mean, nothing really is coming to my mind that I can immediately think of, because most of the times, I've always been a place where I've auditioned for something and either it has worked or it has not worked.
Hmm.
Yes, sometimes I've come close to doing a project like, you know, uh, auditioned several times over and then just reached uh, last like leg, and then it's fallen flat. Or probably certain times I've been finalized for something and then I had to be replaced. But and yeah, there are many times when you're auditioning for roles and you know that you've done a great job. Like at least that's the feedback you get from actors and from the casting agents or from the directors or whosoever is involved whom you work corresponding with. But then you know that it went to someone else only because they were more known, or they were from like a certain family. That has happened. That has definitely happened. But having said that, I don't think it's it's productive for me to sit and think about it. You know, it's part and parcel of life and happens everywhere. And
Hmm.
probably that would happen to someone else because of me also today. You know, it in every ways, in every one of our ways, it's happening to someone probably. You know, so you can't be complaining about it. And there is no point. I mean, if you sit back and spend energy thinking why and how and what if, uh, you'd be wasting a lot of your time and creating a lot of negativity around you. It takes time to get over it. It obviously hurts and puts one's energy down for a while. But you need to spring back up and start concentrating on increasing your skill set, improving your craft, enriching yourself with various experiences in music or reading and something else or exploring the world, and shifting your focus to that aspect rather than concentrating on the what ifs and why nots. So yeah, so that happens, and I think it happens to everybody in
Yeah,
different ways.
absolutely. So before we end, two more things that I will definitely ask you is that you did, mention about the growth that has been from when you began to where you are now. So can we say that Anupriya, you're finally getting to play the parts that you really joined this industry to do? I mean, something that satisfies you as an artist, something that satisfies your creative urge. Are those kind of roles really coming your way, or would you want, uh, like you've mentioned, you want to be seen in a different light, but something that you wish you could do differently now, you could put in from your side to make that happen?
I can put in from my side to make that
Yes.
happen. Yeah, interesting. So yes, I think as an actor, you also need to push yourself to make people see what you want them to see, to create or to collaborate with people. I do see a lot of projects that have come my way in the recent. See, anything that I've done so far, has always been something that I've enjoyed doing, and it's always been meaningful, at least in my eyes. And I think I've always played meaningful characters and meaningful roles. You know, I've always been happy with the setup that I've worked in and with the people that I've worked with. So it's always been creatively satisfying. And as I said, I've always looked to grow as an actor in terms of craft also. It always has been a sort of a move forward rather than get stuck at a place. But if you have to ask me as to what kind of roles and the kind of roles that I really want to do, I'm a Smita Patil fan, I'm a Shabana Azmi fan. And like I have always wanted to do a Mirch Masala or a Katha or or like a Mughal Azam or an Umrao Jan or a
Feel
Silsila
good
or a,
films, yeah.
I mean, those are the films that I think of when I think of cinema, you know, and a lot of great cinema is being made now. Also, I'm very fond of um, Ishqiya and Dead Ishqiya and even Piku or a lot of Ayushmann Khurrana's films, which are so meaningful, or even a war. I've started to appreciate the full-on commercial movies as much too because I've been part of three big commercial films and I know the landscape and the people teach you so much. And it is not easy to make those films at all. So thankfully, since I've started working, I've started appreciating both the spaces, and I see that any which ways meaningful cinema is kind of merging with the commercial cinema and the lines are getting blurred now.
Hmm.
Right, content has become important. So yeah, I mean, I would love to, as I said, I would want to work in these different genres,
Hmm.
work in a role which completely like squeezes me out, like has so much of emotion where I have to really work on the body language. I have to kind of think of creating a graph and sit through with it, um, collaborate with the writers and the directors over a period of time to arrive at making a character.
Absolutely.
Those sort of things where maybe I need to add a few skill sets in order to do a role. And probably all of us need to, as actors, I think what we can start doing is, and sometimes where I think I also lack, to be very honest, is adding those skill sets, honestly, even when the role is not there in front of you. Like, and making it kind of come out there and see, yeah, okay, fine, this is something I can do too, this is something I can do too. So it's all in your hands, to be very honest. You have to do your hard work.
But are you?
I really appreciate some actors who can sit with writers and create scripts and for themselves.
That time will come
People,
also.
huh?
That time will also.
I'm not very good at that. I mean, but now, yes, a lot of these scripts which have come to me in the past couple of, I think 1 year, are multifaceted. There, some creation is happening. They have a lot of meat, and I'm very glad about that. So yeah, let's see. Uh,
Anupriya, are you happy? Like for the longest time, as an audience, we have complained that Bollywood does not write stronger paths for women. I'm not going to use the word female centric because I know that is like one term which is considered derogatory now by a lot of female actors. They say We don't call movie hero centric, so why women centric or female centric? Forget that. But are stronger and substantial parts being written for women? I want to give an example of criminal justice here. We had Pankaj Tripathi playing a lawyer who was fighting Kirti Kulhari's case. But even your audition with him, playing, taking the same case up, you were in a center stage role, and it was of importance. It was not like she's just walking around with Pankaj Tripathi. She had her own say, her own presence in every frame, and whatever she said made sense and carried onward, carried forward the narrative. So, taking from that, are you happy with the kind of roles that are being written for women now? OTT space, theaters, anywhere.
I'm glad you mentioned it because here and I'll be very honest here. So here the whole credit goes to the writer Apurva Asrani and the makers for making that choice, and for Pankaj sir also, because in a script they understood that this is a woman-oriented story, and I'm using that term because that's what it is. It's a story of many women that Apurva has, the world that he's
Yes.
created. It's just, yeah, Anu Chandra is at the center of it, about facing abuse, facing marital rape. But he's also added many other women characters. My character obviously comes from the first season, and he's added her family dynamics into the picture of a mother and what she's suffering in her personal life, and how that kind of brings her to understand the victims or the accused, pain. But also there's a cop, there's a lawyer, there's another lawyer, there's the judge. So many women come together in this series, and you understand that how patriarchy has violated each one of them. Uh, and these are strong women we are talking about.
Yes.
How patriarchy is also violated or affected or is deeply set into a man who's as feminist as they come in Madhav Mishra, you know. And and I appreciate Apurva and the makers for making that choice. That even though Pankaj sir is a far bigger star,
Hmm.
uh, he is the core and the heart of criminal justice. To be very honest, they let me, my Nikhat's character, take center stage in the proceedings because they saw that a thank I'm thankful to them that they believed me to perform and to be able to carry it on my shoulders, and they trusted me with it, and they wanted to write something like that for me. But also apart from that, they they knew that this is a story of a woman which needs to be told by a woman, which needs to be, kind of summed up by
Right.
a woman, and she needs to be talking about the women at large are going through in our society. So that I believe needs to be done more, where you give the credit or the character arc to whosoever what the gender is, wherever it is required. And
Yes.
that's how when we say it doesn't need to be male centric or a female centric movie.
Yeah.
It needs to be character driven, it needs to be story driven, and it needs to be inclusive, where you bring both the sexes together, collaborating with one another in equal spaces. What we all are fighting for throughout in our lives, in professional and personal spaces.
Equality. Yeah.
That's what needs to come in the writing and in filmmaking also. And when that happens, so many things will, you know, because cinema, I believe, is one of the best ways of making a change, of reaching out to people. So you don't need to keep them as two separate genders. They function together. And that's what I'm hoping for. When I say that I want to have center stage roles, of course, because, they have more graph, they have more opportunities to build an arc and to take a story forward. I would want more responsibilities on my shoulders. And I am very happy about all the roles that I've been given. They've always been very responsible, potent roles.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm very happy about the fact that characters need to communicate and get built together in writing.
They are
I believe
slowly
that
doing. It's slowly happening. Yeah.
happening now. Just yesterday, I was conversing with this beautiful writer. We were working on something, and how we were discussing, okay, this actor, I mean, this character is less developed yet. And he was like, no, I have to make her more potent. So he was talking to me, who's a girl who's playing, the part, and was talking about another female character, saying that this is less developed. And I was like, yes, it is. You need to bring that up further. and we were having that discussion and about other characters, and we were talking about it, and that was so satisfying that he saw that every character needs to say something, and that's what's going to make the flavors come alive, you know. So that is happening. I just hope that we are already talking making content or heavy stuff which is meaningful enough to say something. Like, I'm very happy about criminal justice for that, from that aspect. It's good to make entertaining stuff. As India, we need it also. Everything cannot be, very heavy duty. But I genuinely believe that if we are able to inspire people while being active, why not? Or change and make a transition in people, then why?
Very well put, and I'm sure that is happening through your art. And I really, really wish that this year, whatever changes that you're hoping in your characters, in the kind of casting that's coming your way, do happen. Thank you so much for taking
Thank
out your
you.
time and chatting with me.